Hi and welcome to Online Appliance Tech. Today we're going to go over the Samsung washer that does not want to agitate or spin. So the first thing you want to do is put it in automatic test mode. Press the power button and hit delay cycle up to 1700 hours. Once you get up to 1700, you're going to then hold the start button until SE appears or AE appears. Okay, then just press the start button once more and then the door will lock, and the second would be the drain pump, and then it'll go to cold valve, hot valve, and number 6 is the agitation mode. So if your machine is kind of doing this number here where it kind of shakes back and forth the inner drum, that definitely indicates you have a hall sensor problem, or more likely a motor control board problem. So let's get down to the bottom of this and test. So at this point you can just press the power button, turn it off, or you can just let it go through the rest of the diagnostic mode. Totally up to you. At the end of the video we'll actually show you exactly what's supposed to happen. Okay, behind the drive there's a panel. You'll remove the 2 Phillips head screws, and then you'll just lift up on the panel and slide outwards. So lift up and out. Okay, so right here is the motor control board with the main control board. Definitely make sure you unplug this before you start taking it apart, and you have 2 Phillips screws that you have to remove here that does release the main control board. So definitely make sure you unplug. So right here basically the harness goes to the main board, motor control to the motor. So right here's the assembly together, unplug, and this just basically clips off, so you kind of pry upwards and it clips right off, and it's basically the same way on both sides. So as you can see, I'm prying up and pulling forward. In this case you do need to remove the control panel on the right first and then the left. As you'll see here, I actually did it wrong. So the right one and then the left one. Now we can move the left one. Way easier. So there's a motor control board which controls the motor, and on the right is the main control board that kind of activates the rest of the machine, drain pump, etc. Okay, so disconnect this harness. We're going to check for continuity throughout this harness. This basically goes to the hall sensor, and we're going to check for any type of open lines. As you can see here, we have the 1.5 volts and the signals in the ground. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go from my ground and hit each pin. If I do have open line, that basically tells me that I do have an issue with either the hall sensor or a cut wire. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I have my multimeter on the ohm setting. And I'm going to take this harness, I'm going to make sure I put my black pin in my ground, and then my red prong, I'm going to hit each terminal on this harness to make sure I have some type of resistance with no open line. If I do have open line, I do have a wire that's either cut from the harness to the motor control hall sensor, which you could check that with continuity also. So I see that was okay and it passed the test. So now I'm going to disconnect the harness. It goes to the motor, and basically this should read all the same. Like this one reads 12 ohms. So if you go pin 1 and 3, it should be 12 ohms, 2 and 1, or 2 and 3. Right here I'll show you a good example. This is sometimes can be a little pain to move, so I use a flathead to press the little latch in and pull out, if that's what you want to call it, a latch. So as you can see here, I have 12, and then I'll go 1 and 3, 12. Now if I get open line on this one also, it's going to be either a cut wire or my motor is defected. I need to replace the motor. Okay, so now I'm going to do electric checks. Make sure you're familiar and know how to use a multimeter and okay with dealing with this. It's dangerous if you do touch these capacitors. So right here we're going to do all the electric checks. Right now we're going to check the main power source, which is 120 volts. As you can see here though, if I do this without pressing the power button, I will get nothing. So let's turn on the machine. What I'm going to do here, I'm just going to place in diagnostic mode real quick. That way I can go straight to test mode 6 and get the machine started, or the motor control, I would say, activated. So yeah, press the power button, go to 1700 by hitting delay, and then hold the start button. And this time we're actually going to go to manual test mode and hit the delay button once more, and you can just keep on pressing this to go through all the settings way quicker. There's test mode 6. So now I do know the main control board should be sending power to my motor control board. So right now this power input should be 120 volts. If I do not get 120 volts, then I have to back step to see where is the source coming from. If I do have the 120 volts, that's good. As you can see here, 120 volts. Now I'm going to check DC voltage. Right here I should have 5 DC volts. This 5 DC volts comes from the main board on the right. If I do not get these 5 DC volts, that means my main board on the right is bad. So here's another little test. Your black prong on the ground, and then you can hit your red prong in the number 3 and 2 pin and spin the rotor, and you'll see the voltage rise. And this will basically just tell you that the Hall sensor is working correctly. And see there? So that's basically what it does, the Hall sensor. It senses the weight of the clothes and so forth. And I'll just test the pin number 2. Actually, this is 3. So 1.1. I'm going to spin it. And as you can see. So this basically tells me I do have a bad motor control board. I checked all the power and everything, so let's replace it. Okay, before you grab it right here, just make sure you unplug it. Definitely don't want to be touching these capacitors with it plugged in, because they do hold quite a bit of charge, and we'll put you back on your feet. So machine's unplugged. I like to use a flathead and kind of press this in to pull this harness out. I would say pry it out. Just take your time, be gentle, no reason to rush. Then you're going to disconnect all your harnesses, but this just clips right off, as you can see here. But it does have 2 little latches. You gotta press in and press down. There we go. Okay, disconnect the coax. Just don't yank on the wire, yank on the plug itself, because if you rip that wire out, you'll basically have an open line. Okie dokie. Okay, let's get the new one. So if you do need one of these, I will leave a link in the description below with a part number if needed. So let's reconnect the harnesses. They kind of can only go on one way, so you can't mess this up. And once you connect them all, just make sure you realign the wires correctly and nice and neatly. And this little piece I took off to test it with a multimeter. If you need little prongs, I'll try to find that and leave it also in the description below. It's kind of hard to put those thick prongs in there. Okay, so like last time we had to move the right first to move the left. Now we're going to put the left on first and then put the right on first, the cover. And once into place, is to kind of go around it and make sure everything's clicked in. Last thing you don't want is the cover to come off when the machine's washing. So at the bottom here you have two little grooves. As you can see, it just basically clips in and then you'll slide it towards your left. So there we go, we clip it in and move side to your left. And then it'll just line up with the two the holes where you can put the two Phillips screws back in. And this will just mount it to the housing of the washer. Okay, let's give it a test. I'm going to put it in diagnostic mode again, 1700 hours. Hold the start button till the SE appears. Or in your case, it might say AE. And then press delay start, and this way you can just go through the test real quickly. Cold, hot, and number 6. It should start rotating. There we go. So that's most of the time, I would say 90% of the time is your problem when this occurs, but it's also good to test. And if you want to go through all the other cycles, we'll do it again real quick. So we have door lock, drain pump, cold valve, hot valve, agitation with water, I guess is a range cycle. And number 7, I believe, is drain again. 8 is spin. So I do have a diagnostic video also. I will leave at the end of this video. Then just hit the delay in again, or you can just press the power, but if you hit it again, this should unlock the door and turn it off. Well, I hope this video was helpful. Please like and subscribe for more future tips and videos. Thank you.